Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Fabric Tech Talk Fridays. This is Swetha Mannepalli. Today, I'm here with Javier Villegas, one of our MVPs. Welcome to the show, Javier.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Javier, before we get into the details, I would love to get some information about how did your MVP journey begin? How did you come to become an MVP? And a little bit about what you do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me first. Well, I've been an MVP since 2016. I started the journey being a community member. When you reach a point in your career in where you think that you have something to give back, is the moment that you get into a community and you start interacting with peers, with other community members, sharing knowledge, and one day someone may see you and may propose you to be an MVP, and this is how the journey starts, right?
Wonderful, wonderful. I love the aspect that you touched on, giving back to the community, being part of the community. That is exactly where Microsoft Fabric really shines and comes through. This is for the community and by the community. So thank you for sharing that, Javier. Today, we are covering a very important topic when it comes to getting data from anywhere. So every organization, as we know, struggles with data silos, data duplication. So today, we are going to unravel what are these value propositions that Microsoft Fabric brings to bear. What are some of the capabilities? And today, specifically, we'll be talking about shortcuts.
Sure.
So before, again, we'll get into the goodness of all the things on how to get the data into Microsoft Fabric using shortcuts. If anybody very new to Microsoft Fabric, what does shortcuts mean to them?
Well, shortcuts basically is a wonderful technology within Fabric which allow you to avoid data duplication first, right? It's allow you to bring the data from almost anywhere it's reside, right? Without actually doing any data movement. You're gonna do like a reference to that data, and in multiple and different cloud providers, right? So you can have part of your operational data source in a different cloud provider, on another one, maybe master data in a different one, and you can combine them together within Fabric without copying or duplicating the data. That's wonderful.
That's amazing, Javier, because I'm an ETL developer. That's how I started my career. So thinking about a click of a button or a few clicks, you can bring data from anywhere. It's like the nirvana of any data engineer, I believe. So can you tell me a little bit more about how many data sources are we talking about? Can data be residing anywhere? You mentioned or you touched on, or it could be in a database, it could be in a file. So is it structured? Is it unstructured? Are shortcuts oblivious to all of that?
Okay, so today we will see later in a demo how to bring data from CSV files and Parquet files from two different completely sources. One of them is not even Microsoft, is Amazon AWS S3. And the other one is from an Azure Blob storage, right? So you can have your files on those systems and can bring it into Fabric without data movement, and we said before. But you can also do it from Google BigQuery as well.
Understood. Perfect. No, this is powerful. Like you said, previously it used to take hours or days to really get all these systems to talk to each other, marry the data, and make some meaningful insights. Now, with the click of a button, we were able to bring all this data. So all the data, once you create the shortcut, it lands into one lake.
You have the reference in one lake.
Perfect.
Right? And the beauty is that, again, no data duplication. So in the previous war, right, when we used to do ETL for everything, the moment that you copy the data, that you land your data into your analytical storage, is when your problem starts, because you have two copies of the data,
Yes.
right? And when you have to start sharing the data with another area within your company, your problems get a little bit more complex. Now, again, the data reside at the source, and you just reference it, right? You will see it and you will use it, and you can combine it with other local tables that you may have in one lake, right? In the data warehouse, in the lakehouse, coming from another source, etc., with the data that lives in, the original source.
This is again super powerful. When I think about it, we talk about data silos, data duplication all day long. If people are really in the data world, they can really attest to the example that you quoted. You'll have a business user who can say, just give me a snapshot of the data and I will work with it in my laptop. We know how that goes. That's how the data creep starts, and it is all over the place now. But at Fabric Tech Talk Fridays, this all looks very amazing. I'm excited to know and listen to all these great stories about shortcuts. But at Fabric Tech Talk Fridays, we want to get your laptop, see what you got.
Okay, very good. Excellent. Let's do it. Okay, so the idea today is basically get data from anywhere, right? So for the demo, as I briefly mentioned before, we're going to have a Fabric capacity, actually the trial one. We're going to create an empty lakehouse, right? Right from the start, right? And we're going to reference two external sources. One, an AWS S3, in where I'm going to land a CSV file, right? And then an Azure storage account in where I'm going to have a Parquet file, right? Could be from a sales system in one of the sources, and from the master data source from the other one. Imagine your scenario, right? But again, two completely different environments. So that's the idea. Now we jump into the workspace. Again, empty lakehouse. This is how we started. A blank workspace with the right permission. That's it. We enter into the lakehouse, right? And under files, right, we have these three dots at the side, in when you just do the right click and you have the option of creating the new shortcut.
Perfect.
Over there is going to pop up the wizard to select from which source you want to get your shortcut. In this case, I select Amazon S3. I have my connection string already created, right? Then you're going to get the list of folders and files that you have at the source. You select one or more, right? In my case, I have one called FabCon Vienna 2025, right? Then I do creation, and then within the lakehouse, right, you will see that that file, in that folder, in where originally is located in S3, is still in S3, but we can see it in the lakehouse. Same for the Azure Blob storage. We're going to connect it. We're going to select the connection string, right? In this case, we're going to display all the containers within my Azure storage account. I will select one specifically, right? So when I hit next, again, under the lakehouse, under the file section, I have the container or the folder, and I will see all the files allocated on it, right? So
Perfect.
that's simple, right? Then when you have it within your lakehouse reference, right, you can see the files, right? You can even preview the files, the content of the files, with absolutely no problem. And then you can just simply do right-click, load to new tables, and that file that you have still in this case, the storage account, you will have it created as a table within your lakehouse. At that moment, the data is in the lakehouse.
Wonderful,
Right?
wonderful.
But when it's in the file, it's still referencing the source. The same thing for the one coming from the S3 shortcut. I have two CSV files, sellers.csv, for example. I can even preview the data. As you can see here, we can see the content, right, with absolutely no problem. And remember, still at the source, right? Same as before, I hit the three dots, load to new table, right? I specify the table name, the column separator in this case, hit load, and then it will be created as a table,
As a Delta Parquet tool.
as a Delta Parquet table, living in the lakehouse. Right?
Wonderful.
I can leave it as a file and use it as a file if I need it, but if I want to have it as a table, in this case, as you can see, I have both one file from S3, one file from Amazon, from the storage account, and I can see then both as a table in the layout.
Wonderful.
Super, super powerful.
This is great, but we all know in the data world, things evolve, things change. So how does shortcuts keep up with the changes that are happening on the source side? Is it automatically happening?
Well, if you keep adding, for example, files into your source, right, you will see the same files references at the Fabric file shortcut, right? If you want to modify your data, you can keep adding and you will see it
That's-
over there, right?
That is powerful.
That is powerful because again, you have everything at the source, nothing at stored unless you convert it as a table. Right?
Got it. So if I understand correctly and probably do a drill down, let me ask the performance considerations. Once you have the shortcut and you land the data, either in the files format or the Delta Parquet format, are there any performance considerations to take into account?
That is actually a great question, and actually Microsoft is doing a lot of investment on that performance area because it's adding a cache layer between the source and Fabric, right? So not every time you have to go to the source to fetch the data,
Got it.
right? Only when it's changed, right? Also, an additional thing that was announced today is that you can also do transformation, right?
And-
So not only that you can go to the file as is, you can do transformation on the fly and land it as a shortcut in the Lakehouse. That's awesome.
So just to sort of reiterate, we are at FabCon Europe in Vienna. As part of the keynote that happened today, the latest feature announcement that we heard is about the shortcut transforms. And that's what you're referring to, Javier. So again, another powerful feature when it comes to not only taking the data from the source and landing it into one lake, you can actually have the ability to modify it. Can you give me a situation where you have to modify?
A simple situation. For example, you have a file, a CSV file generated by your CRM and stored in an storage account, right? That, for example, you don't have the table format as you need it. First name, last name, social security number, phone, whatever. You can do some transformations and have that data landed as the formats you need in the Lakehouse. This way, you probably skip the addition of
layer
notebook.
to
Yeah. The
Yes.
transformation layer in Fabric. You can do some basic transformation, but quite powerful, actually, on the fly.
Perfect. Now that brings me to another aspect. Because you mentioned first name, last name, SSN, are there any PII things that we can take care of? Let's say while I'm bringing the file in, I don't want to, either I want to mask or there's PII content in it. Are there any features or capabilities where you can actually mask in order to not bring the PII?
This is from the Fabric point of view, right? In Fabric point of view,
Correct.
you can, just create in your data warehouse, for example, the data masking and all the features that we know from Fabric.
Perfect.
Right?
No, this is amazing. Now, any organization who is planning to start their Fabric journey or use shortcuts, what is the one key takeaway or one of the best practices that you can provide, Javier, based on your experience?
Okay, yeah, no, definitely. One of the things that I would say is that shortcuts are wonderful, right? Mirroring is another technology to bring data into Fabric, but we still need the ETLs,
Correct.
right? So depending on the volume, depending on the business case, depending on many things, so that is why the architecture part is so important. It's not like you're gonna create shortcut for everything or you're gonna mirror all your data because again, there are performance implications, there are governance implications, there are multiple other things. So still rely on pipeline, still rely on data flow chain tool, right? But consider mirroring and shortcut for the information that you need for these specific cases, in which the data is diverse or in another place.
Perfect. No, this is great. Thank you so much for sharing this with us, Javier. Thank you for your time today with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for watching. If you found this video valuable, don't forget, hit that like button.
If this is your first time visiting the Microsoft Fabric YouTube channel, be sure to smash that subscribe button.
Drop a comment below on what you'd like to see on future episodes of Fabric Tech Talk Fridays.
That's it for today. See you all next Friday for another deep dive into Microsoft Fabric.